Hey everybody, it's Jimmy and Bill. So today is, what is it, November 30th?
Yes.
All right, so we're going to do the market update for October. And we're going to be talking a lot about Florida's market because that's where we have the stats with. So, I mean, it's kind of trend. Florida, to me, seems like the last person standing kind of state, you know, when it comes to real estate. So, right. You know, there's national numbers and there's state numbers. So Bill's going to talk about what's been going on in October. Do me a favor, if you like this kind of videos, subscribe. It really helps out the channel and it's greatly appreciated. Go ahead, Bill. What's going on? How was October?
October wasn't bad. You know, it was a little slower than expected. So again, we've talked about this in the past where housing is such a hot topic right now. You know, you start to see week over week and month over month and things like that. And generally people haven't ever really paid that much attention. It's almost like the stock market, you know, every day they're watching it and seeing what number, but we've always fluctuated a little bit. Now, don't get me wrong, we've had those crazy years and crazy months. But right now, what's happened is we've seen a decrease in interest rates, which is good, a slight one, but
yeah,
a decrease is
peaked at like 8%, and now it's like a little bit under 7.5 last time.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And it, you know, it bumps up here and it goes down there, but it's nice to be under 8.
Right.
You know, I just try to look at the positive on everything. Mm-hmm. Will we go up again? Who knows? Maybe a little bump up, maybe a little bump down, but overall, it feels like we're going to start to slowly trend downward slightly.
Well, I saw an article that they said in the next 2 or 3 years they're expecting rates to be around 5.5, 6.5.
And I agree with that. Yeah, area. Yeah. Back to more of our average interest rate. But again, this isn't going to be some crazy drop fast. That's what we don't really want. That I mean, as much as we want it, we don't want it because that's instability, right? That makes things unstable and unpredictable, and that's not good. If the
Feds cut rates, they're cutting it because we're in trouble.
Right. So, but if we start to trickle down a little bit to loosen things up a little more, then we're going to be in a better shape. So let's talk about a few numbers.
But that's possible because it's election year too.
Exactly. Now, and a lot of people, I would imagine, are starting to kind of take that into consideration that we are going to an election year, and it's going to soften a little bit, which. Yeah. So let's talk about that for a second before we get into these numbers. So how can somebody who's buying or selling take advantage of that? Just pay attention, make sure, if you're talking to your real estate agent, or even if you haven't had one, but you have any thoughts of selling or buying, call a real estate agent in your area and have a conversation with them. There's nothing wrong with making a plan and getting some hard data. And if they don't understand the data, then perhaps it's a time to look for a different realtor that you can make a plan with, because they just don't have a grasp maybe on the economy right now and what's going on in the market and how you can potentially leverage that. Because basically what it boils down to is everybody's situation is going to be different. So if you're even having a thought, reach out to somebody. It doesn't hurt to have a conversation.
Right. So, but that's the whole thing is October, basically. Let's go over the numbers and then we'll continue. So what happened in October?
So October, we're talking the Tampa Bay area, which encompasses Pinellas, Pasco, Hillsborough, and Hernando counties.
Yeah, but could you, okay, so we're doing a local market, but it kind of trends towards the rest of the state a little bit.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
It's because I have the state numbers too. But then again, you go down, let's say you go down to Miami. Right? It's a totally different market. So we're talking kind of about what we have here, and I'll compare them to state, you know, just the average in the state. But right now we're down about 11% for closed units in that 4-county area at about 49,964 units.
Oh, really?
So we went down a little bit. Now, I don't totally think that's a bad thing. And it's not the end of the world. We seasonally start to slow a little bit right around that Thanksgiving time. So that's
for the holidays.
Things start to take a little bit of a slower.
But we're talking about October now.
Yeah, this is October data. but it starts to trend downwards.
All right, so
And we also have interest rates that went into the 8% in October.
That's true.
So
That's
that 0.5%, 1%,
psychological.
and I can't tell you how many unfortunate people got bumped out of a purchase because the interest rates went up so high right in the middle of their contract.
Do you think people are starting to get used to the high interest rates?
Of course they are. It's psychological again.
Like,
You get to that point and then you get used to it. It's like,
they're like,
remember,
oh, okay, it's 8%. That's crazy. Oh my God, it's 7.5 now. I'm freaking killing it.
this is amazing, right? Like, but it's the truth. I mean, look what we talk about with gas. We're like, holy smokes, it's below $3.50.
Yeah.
You know, it's just it's all what you get used to.
All right, continue.
One thing I do want, that I think this is always a hot topic, so I pay attention to this, and this is pretty average across the state too, is and it's across the country, home prices are still continuing to rise on the average. So here in that 4-county area, we're up about 5%.
From last year?
From last year, for the month.
Oh,
For that month. So this is month over month. So comparing October of this year to October last year, we're up 5%.
Oh, wow.
5.5%, 5 to 5.5%.
That's pretty good.
Right, so we've gone up. If you look at the national, overall, we're up at about 5.5% for the state.
Okay.
So everything's kind of trending. You start to see that stuff the same. Our months of inventory went up a little bit. They came down for year to date. It came down, but in October we were at about 1.3 months. We should be, like we did a video, we were at about 2.7 months nationally. And there again, that's kind of where we start to get comfortable here in our market.
Right.
So the median price was, like I said, I don't know if I touched on this, the median price was about $462,000 in our area.
Really?
Median homes price, yep. So median means it's the middle of the road. So there's, like 49% higher price and 49% less price. Now, if you look at that compared to the state, overall, because you're taking into some really high-end markets, Miami, some a little bit hotter markets, that median average sale price was about $527,000.
Oh, really?
It's up because you're taking into different.
You're taking Miami into consideration.
Yep.
Places like that.
Yep. All the beachfront communities, everything.
Right.
So, and you're taking in the East Coast, which is a little bit more pricey in the, Coral Gables, those type Miami type areas, like you said. So, and then overall in the state, we're at about 3 months of inventory, just kind of overall for the month, because things fluctuate.
But inventory is increasing a little bit?
A little bit. We come up and we go down, but if we look at it on a year to date, we are up slightly, which is, again, it's a good thing because things are starting to slow, which signals to me that we're healing.
Somebody told me, another realtor told me, like, if you see inventory increasing during the slow season, it's a bad sign. Because usually inventory slows down during the holidays. But if inventory goes up, that means people are getting desperate and trying to sell it. Do you ever hear anything like that?
Well, it depends on how you look at it.
Okay.
Maybe the inventory is going up because there's not as many sales. People always list. Right? Oh, it doesn't matter if it's the holidays or not. People will list. If you need to sell your house, people put their house up for sale.
Okay.
So you could look at that perhaps based on what you said in two different directions.
All right.
Maybe it's just the normalcy of what people are listing in October, November, December, but there's not as much buyer demand typically, which does open up an opportunity for the serious buyers who need a house to make an offer.
So I just want to make sure I understand this. So at the end of the day, this October was down compared to last year, October.
Correct.
But overall, for the year, we're up.
We're up. Yep.
Why, in your opinion, you think we were down for October? Because that's when we peaked at around 8% rates.
Yeah, I mean, everything, there's so much month over month, things have been so fast changing, but we peaked at interest rates. They had just gone up earlier. people were getting a little nervous, didn't know what was going on. Tons of talk about inflation. We talked about prices of food, everything, going out to eat. People started to scale back a little bit. And I think, you know, I don't know the numbers off the mortgage applications, but just from people that I've dealt with in our brokerage, there's a lot of people that, you know, and you probably experienced it too, where there were a lot of canceled contracts simply because the interest rate went up that 0.25%.
They couldn't afford the mortgage.
And they couldn't afford it anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and that was sad. You know, it was very unfortunate.
What are your predictions are now that rates dropped a big 0.5%?
Well, I think it's going to open the door to certain people who were bumped out. That 0.5% could potentially be $200 a month, which is huge.
So what do you think, in your personal opinion, what do you think is going to happen in November? You think people are just going to be stagnant? What do you think this November compared to last year's November?
Oof, I don't know. That's going to be a tough one. That's a tough prediction. I think it feels like there was a little bit more activity, but it's so cyclical. I don't know. You know, because like maybe our market was a little hotter than another county. It just because to be honest, we've gotten into our tourist season here.
Yeah.
You know, so it'll be curious to see how November does.
Yeah. So what do you think? You think you have a prediction?
We might be up just a touch.
From last
November. We might be up a touch. You know, but if it's any sign of how Black Friday was, like we talked about the other day,
yeah,
you know,
Black Friday, like
it
we talked about in the other video, was like on Black Friday we went to like Walmart, Target, the mall, Best Buy, you name it, just to check it out, and it was empty. It was like a Wednesday 10 a.m. during a work week, non-holiday.
Right. It was
so
like
weird.
A
ghost town.
Yeah, it really was.
I mean, hopefully, you know, it's a better October. I know my numbers as a home inspector, we're down 25% from last year.
Wow. Overall?
For October.
For October, okay.
From October to October.
Okay.
But overall, my company's up 35%.
See, like it just changes. It's because you know, looking at it from a micro standpoint versus a macro standpoint, you know, changes the outlook of numbers and stuff a lot.
Yeah, so that's the whole thing. It's just, you just never know. I personally think, and I'm not a realtor, I'm not an economist, I'm not nothing. But in my opinion, from just talking to people, I think people are going to sit on their hands for now, and they're going to wait till after the New Year's, after Christmas, till they start looking again.
Right. So if it kind of goes back to what we've talked about in the past. If you need a house, you need a house. If you have to sell, you have to sell. And there could be an opportunity right now for the serious buyer seller to have come together, because there's not as much competition for the buyer right now. So people whose listings are already up and that they've been trying to sell, not that they're gonna have these magic crashes and all this other stuff, but buyer competition, that little drop in the interest rate that we just had, could open the door to some other people. So it's just some food for thought about your specific situation.
You think people are going to start taking adjustable rate mortgages?
Oof, I don't know. Again, that's a situational. I would just me personally, it's an option for some people. But
let's just talk about this real quick. Like all my investors, I used to do inspections for investors all the time.
Yeah.
I haven't heard from them in months.
It's too hot right now. There's the interest rates are there way too high. And some of these properties, to be quite frank, they're asking too much.
Yeah.
For the properties where they would normally, because I start studying this stuff a lot, and I started looking at, because a lot of my investors stopped. They don't call, they don't answer the phone, they're done. But there's not as many deals like that to be had right now. They're there, but not to the magnitude that there was.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, October wasn't that great, but like I said before, overall for the year, we're up.
We're up. There's this crazy crash, signal that people talk about is, I just don't see it.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, at the end of the day, nobody really knows.
I know a lot of my realtors are freaking disappearing.
Oh, I know, it's unfortunate. There was like 100,000 plus that have non-renewals or something, I read the other day.
And the whole thing is the renewals are coming up again.
Yeah, I got to pay mine. So
I'm curious to see what they're going to have for non-renewals this year.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting for sure.
Anyways, that's today's video. Greatly appreciate it. Like always, do me a favor. If you like these kind of videos, subscribe. Give it a thumbs up. I greatly appreciate it. I'll talk to you in the next one.
Thanks. See you soon.